Continuing on, I talked a little bit about the process of writing this paper. You're going to have to make a choice of a particular communication theory and a particular event that you've experienced. And coming up in a few weeks, I'm going to ask you to report on those selections to me in a proposal for the analysis paper that you see here in the module. So you're going to have to write up a little proposal where you'll identify the theory that you chose. You'll describe to me the events that you plan to write about, and then you'll tell me kind of why you think they're appropriate for each other. That'll be the proposal that's going to be coming up in a few weeks, and I'll talk about this again in an upcoming video. But first, I wanted to show you where you could find those theories that you'll need to select when you're doing your proposal. And those are listed on the prompt for the analysis paper and also here. And they are social penetration theory, politeness theory, relational dialectics, stages of relational interaction, group climate and cohesion, groupthink, and general systems theory. And I'm really excited about all of these theories. There'll be some of them in our readings. Some of them will just be featured in my lectures. And all of them have supplemental essays that I showed you in that previous video at that resource in the modules. Social penetration theory is typically an interpersonal theory. It describes and explains how people get to know each other over the course of time. So if you wanted to analyze the beginning of a relationship of any kind, social penetration is a good one to help you do that. Politeness theory deals with how people cooperate with one another in order to protect each other's sense of self. And so politeness theory is a good way for looking at analyzing how people either are getting along with one another or maybe even having certain conflicts. It could be over politeness. And that'll be a fun one for you to learn about. Relational dialectics is one of my favorite theories of all time. It's going to give us a theory for how people in relationships go about balancing and managing their relational tensions. Tensions are a little bit different than conflicts. This theory will talk about tensions in relationships and how we can use communication to resolve them. Stages of relational interaction talk about how relationships form over the course of time, so relationship formation, and it's going to show how they morph and change over the course of time, and you'll read about that in the textbook. Some theories that are applicable to group communication are group climate and cohesion. Group climate shows how our collective communicative activity can create either supportive or defensive climates that will either increase or decrease group cohesion. So if you're looking at, why did your band or your, I keep using the example of a band, but let's say maybe it's your dance troupe. Why did your dance troupe break up? Maybe it was the climate, and you can use this to analyze that. Groupthink is about group decision making, and it's a particularly bad type of group decision making where we make bad decisions because we are too cohesive as a group. We're too much thinking like one person, and so we don't critically examine the problem we're facing, and we kind of march off the cliff like lemmings. So we're going to read about groupthink, a very fun and interesting theory for group communication. And then finally, general systems theory, a big theory for describing how systems operate. It's going to give us a language and a set of concepts for thinking about how communication systems operate. And so this is widely applicable to really any type of group communication. How is that group communicating as a system in order to achieve its goals? How is it taking in information from the environment, making adjustments, and then outputting a certain communicative product? We'll talk more about all of these in the next 2 weeks as we discuss interpersonal and group communication. So you'll need to choose from one of these. You have some time to make that decision, and I'd like you to spend the next few weeks examining these concepts and thinking about them before you make a final choice or decision about which to use. Okay. Lastly, I just want to show you the rubric one last time and encourage you to read that rubric. The rubric is where I tell you exactly how I'm going to grade your papers. And so if you use it kind of like a checklist, these are the things I need to do, you can score as high as possible. You want to aim for what's in the accomplished box, and it's going to tell you what's the objective. Here is draft an effective introduction and conclusion. What should that look like? It's going to give a description of it. And it's also going to give some descriptions of what that might look like if it was deficient or developing or still beginning. And it's quite detailed. So, I want you to read it. I want you to understand it. I want you to use it to help you do better on this paper. So there are introduction, conclusion, the three main writing tasks, and then things that kind of determine the quality of the writing, your use of paraphrasing, quoting, citations, works cited page, clarity, grammar, formatting. It will be out of 95 subtotaled points, but again, the assignment's out of 120. So I'll convert it in the end to out of 120 total points. Notice in the rubric that there's nothing about the page length. Instead, I'll take off 10 points from the total for each page that's under the minimum of 5 full pages. And any paper that's over the maximum of 7 full pages will lose 5 points. And what do I mean by full pages? Well, I'll take a look at this sample essay. This is one full page, right? And I know it's a full page because it goes on to the second page. So to make sure you have minimum of 5 full pages, I would say it needs to go all the way over onto the 6th page. And you can take the 7th page all the way down to the very end until you go on to the 8th page, and now you're starting to get over the page count. So just wanted to let you know about that in the rubric. Make sure you've download and read this communication analysis paper prompt and take any questions that you have about this to the Common Course question board. I wouldn't mind a lot of questions. The more questions you ask, the clearer you have an idea of what to expect. And you'll also be doing a service to other students as well. I hope these videos were helpful. And good luck with this communication analysis paper.